Hello, we've got Nick Ferrari and Matthew Wright. They're here to discuss today's
morning.
stories. It's good to see you in the flesh.
Lovely to be here, yes.
Did you have a good show?
Had a huge show. Yes, it's
amazing.
been fantastic on the radio, but even better to come and see you.
Oh, thank you for
We were listening to it in the
joining
makeup room.
Oh, well, I'll test you then.
It really was. Great. The interview with Ed Davey was particularly good.
Well done, well done, well done. Let's get on to these stories because I'm breaking news, actually. Prince Harry loses police protection bid. So he put in a bid to actually pay for protection, and he's actually lost that bid. That's literally what's happened?
That's literally happened within the last few minutes, yeah. So this is because he's no longer a working royal, so it's not normally given to him. His case was that he's deserving of protection. I mean, your viewers might want to reflect on what happened in Manhattan, of course, last week with that chase. So maybe Matthew will elucidate a bit on that. So this all turns on that the reason there is reluctance by the Metropolitan Police, and I kind of get their argument, actually. You could have a world where rich people could buy Met Police protection, and that is not the way you want to go. So if he was still a working royal, it would quite rightly be afforded him because of his rank in the royal family. Because he's not, he doesn't automatically get it. He's saying he should have been allowed to fund it. The judge has said, I hear what you say, but no.
Why don't they just have a rule for the royals to have that?
Well, the royals have it because he's not a working royal. He's lost it
because he's taken the decision himself to step back. That's what they're saying.
So you've got things like sort of former prime ministers. They get security forever, even if they've only been in the job like 10 minutes. But I do think Nick's raised a really vital point. I mean, the chasing in New York is serious, very, very serious, and shows the kind of pressure that Harry and Meghan are under. I totally get Nick's point. I think they were after a judicial review to sort of change the law to allow, essentially, people to buy Met Police security. I suppose that the consequences of this ruling will be that possibly the super wealthy will just buy more private protection, which is in itself quite... There's obviously a very pristine and professional element to it, but in the back of my mind, I think private security, lots of money slushing around, it just feels sort of mafiosa-like, really, on one hand. And the other consequence...
But the public shouldn't be paying for just wealthy people to have protection, should they?
No.
Absolutely right.
But if they're coming over...
He's a target, number one. The book that he's just written, he's a target. Not only that, he's still royal. He's still got royal blood.
And I think the consequences will be that Harry... and his visits to the UK are becoming fewer and fewer, and I suspect as a result of this ruling, we'll see even less and less of him.
And never forget, had late Princess of Wales, his mother, still had Met protection that night in Paris, there is no way she would have been allowed to leave the back door of the Ritz and get in a car with a driver who was over the drunk limit. So Met Police, or British security protection, is among the best in the world. And we witnessed that in New York when they took him to a taxi. They tried to put him in a taxi at one point. You remember last week with that story?
Yeah, he did. He was in a taxi.
Yeah.
Is that the end of it now? Because it wasn't an appeal anyway, wasn't it?
That was an appeal. I can't see where it goes now. I think that is case closed.
Yeah, OK.
OK. Another story.
Another story.
The
and
new
this is obviously
search.
one that's obviously been never far from the headlines, never far from our thoughts when there's a new story that comes up.
Madeleine McCann.
It's the Madeleine McCann story. So this is German police investigating the disappearance of Madeleine McCann are set to carry out searches in a reservoir in Portugal near where Madeleine went missing 16 years ago. What do we know about this?
So this is the first new active police search in nearly 10 years. It's in a reservoir, I mean, it's huge. I mean, 5 miles in circumference, 14 metres deep. It was searched, I believe, twice in 2008. There's a particular beach, for want of a better word, at this lake the police are interested in, and they're also going to be searching the forest immediately adjacent to this beach. It's unusual in many ways because this is as I understand it, it's a German-led, Portuguese-supported, British-observed operation.
So this is because of Christian Bruckner, who's the main suspect, refusing to talk, in prison for something else in Germany.
He's on rape charges of an elderly person, I believe, but he's been of interest for the last 3 years for various reasons that I don't think we could probably discuss at this time on television, but suffice to say, he is refusing to help in any shape or form. He denies any involvement. So unless the police and investigators can turn up a body, I suspect we're just going to keep going round and round in circles. I mean, there's so much attention on Bruckner from the German authorities. I think they are convinced that he is the person.
And what we know is he's a sex offender. What we know is he was in the area at the time that Madeleine was abducted. He had a Volkswagen camper van that was seen in the area as well, and it's believed that that vehicle was seen in the area of this lake, which I think is about 30 kilometres. Look, we've all been in this business long enough. Wouldn't it be marvellous one day to say we have the greatest news imaginable, Madeleine McCann? Whether this will bring a solution to the story, I don't. I fear, unfortunately, as Matthew wrote, I think this is a story that sadly will go on and will probably see me into my retirement.
Yeah. So sad.
Desperately sad, desperately sad.
Suella Braverman is we're kind of waiting on her future. So Rishi Sunak is under pressure to launch an ethics inquiry into claims Suella Braverman and the speeding rouse. As the Prime Minister will consult ethics advisor Sir Laurie Magnus, because I think he flies back from the G7 summit.
He's back.
Right?
He's
yeah,
back,
exactly.
Yeah.
So she's facing a possible Cabinet Office investigation into whether she broke ministerial code by asking civil servants' assistance over a driving offence. We touched on this a little bit yesterday. Obviously, you guys are in and around the news. What's your take, Nick?
My take on it is I don't know how much this resonates with your viewers right now. What we have is she was Attorney General at the time, so still in a position of significant importance. But ultimately, the crime, if she has committed one, is to use some kind of ministerial aid to see if she could have a one-on-one session. Now, as she is in that position, and you can do it via Zoom or Teams or whatever, I don't know that that is such a crime. Given other issues that we've seen with this government and what some of the other senior members have done, I think this rate's quite low on the scale. Having said that, to me, it speaks more to the Prime Minister's judgment. This has been bouncing around, well, since the weekend. I mean, this has been around for 2.5, 3 days. I don't quite know why he needs an ethics advisor. I'm not being rude. I mean, I would really like to hear from him why you need that. And
in this instance.
I know he doesn't wants to get bounced into quick decisions. It was the same with Dominic Wright. He wants to take his time, and I admire that. But this now, the waiting has become bigger than the story.
Yeah.
We need a decision. Either it's a yes or a no. What more does the man need to know?
Well, I would say the problem goes back even further than that, because, of course, Suella Braverman was fired originally by Liz Truss because she used her personal email for government business. So, for want of a better phrase, she's got form. It is absolutely critical that someone who heads the Home Office, who pronounces on all matters, judicial issues as well, should be clean, should not be perceived as breaking the code. And the code says you cannot use civil servants for personal business. That's the allegation against her. And the Guardian today...
So the issue isn't that she asked for a one-on-one. You're allowed to ask for
it's getting a civil servant to do it for her.
To do it in the first place.
And Jacob Rees-Mogg, his sort of explanation is, well, this doesn't matter because she's very, very busy. But as far as I understand it, being busy isn't an excuse for breaking the rules. Yeah, that's why the rules are there.
No, it's only a little rule, though, isn't it? Just asking someone. It's like me going to, oh, babes, can you just order this for me online? Because I ain't got the time. I know you do, but it's not really breaking the rules.
When do you want to do your speed awareness course? You didn't actually give me the date.
I've already done 2.
We've got that a big speed awareness yesterday.
I have to say, I'm with Nick. I think this is a bizarre sort of tactic of waiting.
I know.
And it seems you're waiting with your sort of finger in the dam, and you can see what's going to happen. I mean, I feel a day's a number.
Do you think this is because a lot of people, whoever they are, can't separate the fact that you don't necessarily like her policies and how she goes about them, and they might be looking for something else with a stick to beat them?
Well, if you ask, Tobias Ellwood's a backbench Tory MP, and he was absolutely very, very critical of his Home Secretary, so that's a possibility.
I think Matthew would agree. The Home Office is the most difficult department to run. It is absolutely huge, everything from our borders to our police to immigration. And I think it's fair to say that there are issues there. For instance, it takes 18 months to process someone's asylum claim in this country, and there are 166,000 people waiting for their claims to be processed, which is costing us £6.5 million a day. I would rather the civil servants there focused on making sure that we dealt with that than necessarily trying to get the Home Secretary or the Attorney General onto a speed awareness course. Would be more important to me.
OK, I'm going to go for a light story here. This is the Princess of Wales. She's made a surprise visit at the Chelsea Flower Show, where she was joined by a children's picnic. She sat down, she had a few chats with the children, which was really, really nice.
Questions are great, weren't they?
The questions were wonderful. One child asked, what's it like being a royal? Kate said, well, you have to work hard, but you know the best thing, it's meeting children like yourselves, which is really, really nice.
I recall she was the least hard-working royal last year, Kate.
Another child asked
the engagements of the king.
If she made the law, Kate replied, the Prime Minister makes the laws, darling. Kate also chatted to lots of people out and about. They help support all different people in the country, showcase all the amazing work being done and looking after everybody, bless her.
What was it like down there? You were there yesterday.
I was there yesterday.
What's it like?
Have you? It is
never
stunning.
been.
Have you never been?
Never
It was my
been.
first time as well. It is absolutely...
Is it?
It is Britain at its best.
Lovely,
it's
isn't
a
it?
fantastic collection. It's amazing gardens. It's a load of children, as you rightly say. It's all sort of stalls. The sun was out. It was a glorious day. And funnily enough, one of the stalls I went to, It was a pottery stall. The princess had been there. It was hours later. She was still beaming. The stallholder was still beaming because the princess had been there.
Well,
and
it's a lovely celebration of small business as well, isn't it? And also, it's a great celebration of British eccentricity.
Yeah.
Like, some of the gardens are so inventive.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's...
You've got to go. You've got to go.
Dandelions are now in, by the way, so I won't... There's an excuse not to
Weeds.
weed the garden.
Weeds are in.
Really?
Yeah.
Dandelions,
Inclusivity.
wildflowers, honestly, they now plant dandelions.
They
Honestly.
look beautiful.
Anything was
Love a
beautiful down there.
dandelion.
Yeah, so don't need to weed the garden. It's fantastic.
Oh.
OK, junk food adverts is up next. A recent survey showed that people overwhelmingly support the imposition of tougher curbs on junk food and to tackle obesity. 80% of adults back the idea of new laws to prevent advertising unhealthy food to children on television, online, according to YouGov. In the survey of just over 2,000 adults, 58% said councils should use planning laws to prevent fast food shops opening in their areas. So seems like people are getting behind this.
I think people,
right.
you know, you remember, God, how many years ago, 10, 12, 15 years ago, the pictures of the mums putting the burgers through the school gates. And I think a lot of people were rightly outraged, and I think there's a lot of pressure that if you have a lot of takeaways near schools, that puts pressure on parents, puts pressure on kids. I've been a big fan of the sugar tax, big fan of these things, because they have been they've been proven to work. The sugar tax saw all the major providers of fizzy drinks cut the amount of sugar in their drinks. That's got to be good. And they weren't doing it before the sugar tax came in.
I do think we're a product of our environment, to be fair.
There's one downside, which it is salient, which is that children's television, which I now watch a lot of, has been really badly affected because essentially commercial TV stations only were funding their children's television through junk food ads for kids, and now they can't do it. They're not paying for the children's TV, so the numbers of supplies have gone down. The quality's gone down.
No, I was just going to say, like, I'll be honest with you, when I'm in England, I see junk food adverts all the time, and it does make you want to go.
Yeah.
Like, if I say KFC, sign, it does, put it in my head, and I think, oh, I do fancy some chicken on the way home. Yeah. It is one of those things, but when I go to Tunisia and, drive past, the fruit shop, I do fancy some fruit. It's just weird. I feel like you are a product of wherever you are. Wherever you are a product of your environment.
I think to the sugar tax, at this time, when so many of the viewers are struggling, if we were in better times, I hear your argument.
But the price didn't go up, Nick. The drinks stayed the same because they reduced the sugar content. So the sugar tax worked. The drinks are the same price, but they contain less sugar, so less morbidity, less obesity. Fantastic.
I wonder how many young people get fat because they watch it on TV. Are they not all online and elsewhere? How big is TV?
That's where the ads are now, you see, because TV ad for junk food.
Have you never seen a junk food advert, Nick, and thought, oh, I really fancy that? Never in your life. You never saw, a Marks and Spencer advert and, oh, I fancy that now. It does go...
well, of course, that's the power about
it. If it didn't work, they wouldn't have spent billions of pounds on it.
It does go in.
I know, that's why I don't watch red wine adverts. That's what does it for me.
But I agree with it. I think
there's a table of clarities every day.
Most annoying words. What's your most annoying word? I say it all the time.
What do you say yours?
Basically.
Close, literally.
Literally.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one is so. If you now, I urge the viewers, you listen to politicians, you ask them a question, what are you going to do about sugar tax?
Literally.
So what we have here, it just buys them that split. What are you going to do about the speed awareness course? Well, so and literally.
Apparently minging, bog, chav, trolleyed, knackered,
Are you talking
bloody,
to me now?
and nash.
I've come all this way and you talk to me like this. I'll stay at the studios next time.
What was the last one? Nash?
Nash.
No, nosh.
I had to look this.
Is it a
must
nash?
be nosh.
It's a nosh. Fancy a nosh.
I've looked it up.
What, is that like an eating?
Well, I've looked up Nash, and it means all kinds of things. To my friends in the Caribbean, it means a lady's,
Oh, my word.
I don't think
fancy a nash?
And it's also
I just did that. Yeah, it means all kinds of things.
Worse.
Is it nash or nosh?
I mean, whichever. They both seem to be pretty bad right now.
In it, bird.
I love in it.
Do you know what we need? Some clips of funny pandas to
If in doubt.
when in doubt, there we are.
In it.
Pandas having a tea party, there we go. I'm not sure if that's a sugarcane tax as well.
Well, no, but they're having a nice nosh on that sugar beet. That's what they're doing.
And I'll tell you...
And that's all lovely.
I've learnt a lot about pandas for this show, and while they're eating that, they are the most regular animals in the world. 40 poos a day they've eaten.
What a wonderful
40
way to
poos
end
a day.
the news. Thanks, Nick.
And Matthew, thank you.